Well. Welcome to the very first ever episode of Milk Mother. I am Claire and I am the Milk Mother. I've started this what is this called? This video series, this live series on our channel because I feel like a lot of what we see in the parenting sphere can tend to be like these parents who have totally got everything together and like they've got this perfect baby who's doing everything right. And I mean we have a perfect baby as well, but I there's a lot of challenges that come with being new parents, and we're like 6.5 weeks into being parents, and like it's super full on. So I wanted to make these videos like a bit of a weekly check-in, and share not just the highlights, but also some of the lowlights and the challenges, and then also some of the tools and resources that we've been finding really helpful to help us navigate as life as new parents. Um, and one of the reasons we're doing it live is because we have a very fresh baby who's like turns out quite actually quite demanding time wise. So I've been a little bit about Nina and I where are we? So for people who haven't been on this channel before, Nina and I started this channel when was like a year ago to share our journey, our IVF journey as a same-sex couple. Because there wasn't a lot of that on the internet at the time as well that I was able to find. I know there's heaps, but like I was struggling to find anything that I was really connecting with, and I was like, we should do it. Like there's a little bit of a gap here, so let's share our experience and not just all of this stuff from super medical point of view. So yeah, we were unbelievably fortunate to fall pregnant on our second attempt, and we welcomed our little baby Emily on the 12th of May. Um, where is she? There she is, little baby, sweetheart. So there's our birth story if you want to go check that out after. But yeah, so we're shifting gears again from IVF to pregnancy to parenthood. And yeah, I have been wondering how on earth am I going to make videos, because like you spend your entire day feeding a baby and feeding yourself and like juggling appointments, and like I don't even know how I get to have a shower some days. Like I truly, some days I'm like, what even happened that day? Literally nothing, except for like the most important thing on the world, which is keeping this little baby alive. So, yeah, I thought like if I can manage to have a FaceTime chat with my friends while I'm breastfeeding, then I can probably do that like with you all and have a little chat with you all about how things are going. So yeah, here we are. That's how I came up with this brilliant concept. It's 6:30 a.m. here in Adelaide where we are, and I would love to know where you're all watching from. I see that we have my darling mother in the chat. Good morning. Good morning, mum. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know it's a little bit early for you. Um and mm, I'm tired. Who else is tired? This is what it's gonna be like. It's great. Yeah, Jennifer says the most important part is keeping baby and yourself alive. 100%. But then, I know that, as a fellow content creator, it's like we love doing what we do. So like I really enjoy creating content. So and sharing everything that we're doing with you all. Plus for Nina and I, like we've gone back and watched over some of those videos that we've made previously. And it's like just such a beautiful thing to get to look back over. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, Marianne, watching from Sydney, Australia, 7 a.m. Like I've got a lot of early risers with Creative Classrooms watching from the US. Yeah. So on the highlights and the lowlights, that's a super important thing for me to be sharing, because yeah, like I said that like you see lots of very glossy stuff, and even with Sometimes with people that we know, like, it feels like everyone's got everything, they've got their shit together, and there've been a lot of times over, even though we've been having an awesome time, there've been a lot of times where I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing, and like they've trusted us with this, they just let us take this baby home from the hospital. It's just so wild. Then it's just your entire life is about keeping this little person alive. So yeah, highlights, lowlights. I'm a rambly Sue. I'm a new mum. And I thought that I would be breastfeeding during this. I thought that's perfect because she's always awake at this time. No, babies just do what they want. She's right. She's asleep. She's asleep on my lap right now under the lights for her first live stream. Good on her. Yeah. So Nina and I were having a bit of a chat about, like, we're 6 weeks into this thing. What is what have been some awesome things that have happened just this week? Uh, okay, good. Thank you, Jennifer. Um, Short idea, film a lot of segments where you say, "I don't know what I'm doing." Yeah, I mean, I do know what I'm doing. It's pretty. Shut up, Claire. All right. Highlights. Highlights of this week. I am, like, typically a super, very independent person. I like to be able to do everything for myself. And when you have a baby and have, I guess, particularly when you have a C-section, you actually are legally not allowed to drive until 6 weeks, because your insurance, I don't know how it works in other parts of the world, but your insurance is completely void if you were to have an accident before like before you get to 6 weeks postpartum, because turning your head like this is potentially something that you can't do after a C-section. So even though you might be feeling awesome, like I started feeling back to pretty much like a little bit off of the fairies, off the planet, but back to myself at around, maybe, I want to say, 3 weeks postpartum. And I felt like I probably could have gotten in the car and gone for a bit of a drive. You can't do that though. So on Monday, this is my highlight of the week. Uh, Apart from, I just see Wendy's here asking if she's smiling yet. Yes, that has been a pretty massive highlight of this week, is seeing Emily start to smile for things other than her passing wind. Um, so yeah, that's a pretty special thing. But getting to get in the car and drive myself to an appointment was massive, and I was super nervous about it in the lead up. But I it was I want to share a few of the things that actually really helped me with that, because it's a terrifying thing, like getting in the car by yourself with your baby when you haven't driven for 6 weeks. So I didn't do it on the first day, and I think that's probably a really important thing. And I started practicing before I had to go somewhere without Nina. So I took myself for a drive. And I think, yeah, I went by myself without Emily in the car. Mm, I think that really helped. And I also practiced getting the capsule in and out of the car, and getting the capsule in and out of the pram, because we've got one of those that you can, like, take them out of the car and put them straight into the pram, and it's super easy if you know what you're doing. But the first couple of times, you don't know what you're doing, and it's like, oh my god, where does everything go? So I think giving myself that little bit of practice before actually having an appointment that we have to get to at a particular time, and all of that sort of stuff, was just so helpful. Um, Hey, what are the Australian words that I'm saying, Creator Classroom? What are the Australian words? Is it capsule? Is it pram? I don't know. I don't know what's Australian that I've just said. But yeah, hey, folks who are watching, if you're watching this now or if you're watching this after, I want to make these like quite an interactive conversation. So if there's any thoughts or questions that you have, I and if you want to ask them after, you can put them in the comments. If you want to ask them now or say them now, you can put them in the live chat. And also, I really appreciate that not everyone is super comfortable like saying stuff publicly, or maybe you actually don't have a YouTube account, but you still want to ask something or say something. We've created a form. It's a Google form, so you can actually ask your questions or say what you want to say, share your experiences or whatever. Um, in the Google form that you can find at the top of the description. You don't have to leave your email address. You don't have to say who you are, none of that sort of stuff. You can literally just put your question or what you want to say in there, and I will see it and I'll address those things in the following week. I thought that was a pretty good idea for someone who is a little bit delirious to come up with. Um, Good morning from Hawke's Bay, New Zealand. What's the time there? Is it even earlier there or is it later? Oh, it must be later. It must be later. Yeah, cool. Um, yeah, the Creator Classroom has said if it's appropriate. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to not have inappropriate question. I mean, if you're asking stuff that's inappropriate, we're pretty open books, but obviously there's some stuff that I'm gonna be like, yeah, I'm not gonna. So if you want to ask weird stuff, don't bother because I won't acknowledge it. Yeah. Yes, car seat and stroller are our words. Okay, that's good for me to remember because we do have a bit of an international audience here. Car seat and stroller. What did I say? Capsule and pram. Okay, there you go. I love those differences between um, things that we say. Mary, thank you so much for tuning in. Does Emily have an Australian accent? Uh, she has a very Australian sounding cry. No, I think it's pretty universal at this stage, but yeah, it's gonna be super cute to find out if she grows up having an Australian accent or not. She probably will. Uh, yeah. I'm glad that we're doing well as well. It's quite a journey to get here. Like the birth was pretty intense experience, but I am so happy that we got through it all and we're here and we're doing well. Now I have started a question that Creator Classroom asked before the stream because I think it's hilarious. Nina said, "How do not Nina? Jennifer said, how does Nina feel about her face being covered with words?" Do you know what? She actually doesn't mind. I did it, and I was like, "Are you okay with this?" Because it does feel a little bit rude, doesn't it? For those who missed that, I've got it here because I thought that was a very funny question. This is the thumbnail that I put together for this, and this, of course, is my darling wife Nina in the background with her face fully covered up. Um, yeah, Nina was like, "Yeah, it's about you and Emily." Um, well, I mean, it's partly about Nina as well, but I'm the one doing it while Nina is out walking our darling dog because she's a sweetheart. Um, yeah. So she has a very universal cry, my mum says. Yeah, it's so amazing. When I was in the hospital, I was hearing other babies cry and I was like, they all sound literally exactly the same. They sound like a sound effect for a crying baby. Like all of them, all newborns sound like a she's starting to discover new ways of crying like the past couple of days is like new interesting different sounds that she seems to be like going, "Oh, that's a good one." Like there's a real rumbly, weird cry that she's doing the past couple of days. It's pretty funny. Yes. So, what has been the biggest struggle this week? The next part of the equation. Um, yeah, the biggest struggle. ah, it's so hard when she's crying and this has been the biggest struggle for the whole past 6 weeks, actually. When she's crying and she's upset and there's, like, nothing you can do about it. Like, you're just going, "What?" Like, we've tried food, we've tried, like, oh, what else is there? We've tried, like, giving her a burping her, getting some wind out of her, like, we've tried all of the things that they say you ought to try, and she's just still crying, she's still upset. Or, like, they get past the point of being exhausted, and then they can't sleep anymore. Very similarly, I think, to, what I sometimes experience in adulthood, except it's a tiny little baby, and she just doesn't yeah, the creator classroom says sometimes I think they just like to cry. Yeah, but it's like that's a challenging thing when you're in the car and she's squawking and squawking, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, this is literally like actually nothing I can do for you right now." And yeah, that is something that I find super challenging. Um, but also, uh, sometimes there can be little like communication breakdowns that happen between Nina and I that no one's to blame, but that is something that it's like there's this whole other person in our life and our relationship now, and that is, I think it's really important for me, probably me in particular, to remember that Nina is not a mind reader, and that if there's something that I want, I should probably communicate it clearly. Or if there's something that I don't want, there's probably I should probably communicate it clearly. And that's a challenge sometimes when you're just completely exhausted and there's a screaming baby and you need to learn to use your words. Like, Emily's gonna have to learn to use her words at some point. It's very, very funny, Marianne, and something that there's just so much to look forward to in all these different ages and stages, hey, of parenthood. Marianne says, "Then it happens again when they're teenagers and you don't know what's happening with them." Yeah, that would be, I imagine, quite challenging. And yeah, what a roller coaster. What a journey. Mary says that they take her daughter for rides in the car to get her to sleep. Yeah, and she will sleep once we get going, but it's when we're stopped in traffic. Oh my gosh, it's so frustrating. Like traffic is the worst because when you're rolling, when you're moving, she's fine. She's fast asleep. But yeah, um those have been some of the challenging things for me this week. Uh, and I wanted to share a really, really, really practical thing. And I'm going to share a tool or something that has been helpful. But with the like transitioning to being the person who is driving and I'm no longer sitting in the back of the car next to Emily. And it's a freaky thing being a little bit separate. The One of the best things I think anyone gave us, like we were very lucky to be given a lot of beautiful things, but something that has been unbelievably helpful that I was maybe not expecting to be so helpful is one of those little mirrors that goes over the headrest of the seat that she's on. Um, like that her baby seat is sitting on. And like being able to see her is I don't know how anyone does it without one of those. I highly, 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 highly recommend getting one of those. And they're not very expensive. And they just strap onto the headrest and it's makes life so much easier. All right. That's a wonderful question. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, put them in the chat and because I've got a sleeping baby. I can't believe it. I fully thought that this was not going to be as easy as this. I'm sure it won't always be, but we're going to take it week by week and see how we go. So the Classroom says, "Do you know what you want when you aren't communicating with Nina?" Yes, sometimes I do. I think maybe 80% of the time I do. Mm. But it's often just stuff that, like, you think that the other person should um should automatically know to do, but, like, obviously Nina and I are having such different experiences, and also I'm highly aware when it's not in the moment, when it's not in the middle of the night, I'm highly aware that I'm incredibly unreasonable. With like Nina has been the most like unbelievably supportive partner and parent, and like I just feel so lucky that we have such a good partnership. But yeah, I think a lot of the time I do know. But it's when you're tired, sometimes you're just a bit a bit shit. And like I think that's okay, and it's a good thing to be able to acknowledge. And I think a big part of it is communicating after the fact and not being afraid to be like, actually, I was being unreasonable. And that is a challenging thing for me to do, to accept that actually maybe it's me that's being like, and it's fine, it's fine, everything's fine. Like, it's a tough time, and it's a beautiful time, it's an amazing time, but it's like, it's not all rosy. And I do think that there's just so much rosiness around, and, there's awesome stuff, but I think it's really good for us to accept that it's not always easy, and that sometimes we're gonna not get everything right, and that's okay. And right on cue, I feel like 20 minutes is a good amount of time. And this baby's waking up. Isn't that beautiful? I know, do people wanna see her face? Do you wanna see her face? Let's see if I can get her up without making her fully squawk. Yeah, the Creative Classroom says, between the exhaustion and all those pregnancy hormones are released, but the breastfeeding hormones too. Yeah, I didn't realize that. I thought, yeah, it's a real thing. It's a full on thing. Mum life indeed. All right, let's have a little look at this sweet baby. Oh, one of the biggest challenges of my life is that she's already outgrown like her clothes that she was wearing when we first had her. It's so full on. Here's a little baby. I don't know. Best. Wait. Oh, hello. Oh, hello. Hey, sleepy baby. Oh, I love her so much. You guys are all amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in. What do you want to say? Anything? Say something to the people. She's so into the lights. Wow, it's amazing. All right. Thank you so much everyone for tuning in. I can't wait to see you all again this time next week, and we'll see if we have a squawky baby, see what's happened, see what's changed in the week, because that is a mind-blowing thing. Everything changes just when you start thinking, this is going quite well. There's like something else happens. You're like, whoa, this is different. It's always just so different every week, and it's awesome and exciting, but also challenging. So let's normalize parenting not being always easy. That'd be great. All right. Thank you, everyone. Why is my mouse isn't working now? That's good, isn't it? All right. Take care, and we'll see you next week on Milk Mother.